What are you doing? We don't do that here.
Here are 15 of the weirdest food habits from around the world, including strange food etiquette and combinations.
Bet you're gonna enjoy this.
Eating live octopus. Korea.
Do you know I eat octopus 3 times a day?
You're sitting in a sushi bar looking at a selection of sushi. This sushi bar has many tempting and well-known options: bluefin tuna, salmon, freshwater eel, mackerel, shrimp, and countless other choices. But that's not what you want. On the far side of the sushi bar is a squirming pile of tentacles that you slowly identify as a live octopus. Sound far-fetched? It's not. Eating live octopus is a common practice in many Asian countries like Korea, Japan, and China, and is considered an enjoyable experience. That said, it does come with some dangers.
Obviously.
Recently, a female Chinese vlogger did a live stream of herself eating a live octopus that was supposed to be pretty straightforward, but the octopus ended up attacking her face over and over again. It ripped off some skin from her face in the process. The good news is that the girl is now safe, and needless to say, the live stream video has gone viral. Salted fish over chocolate porridge. Philippines.
That's pretty salty stuff.
Picture it. It's winter and it's raining outside. You're sitting at home in front of the TV with a steaming bowl of extra sweet chocolate porridge on your lap. But what if that chocolate porridge is topped with a small, ungutted fried fish with its eyes intact? Strange, right? Well, not if you were from the Philippines. In the Philippines, it is customary to add salted fish to your chocolate porridge. The dish is called champorado with tuyo, and it's very popular. Many Filipinos consider it a delicacy.
Really? That's surprising.
Champorado with tuyo dates back to Spanish colonial rule and Mexican traders visiting the island nation of the Philippines and introducing the country to porridge and cacao beans. Slowly, the dish evolved until Filipinos developed a habit of putting dried fish on top of the porridge. For some reason, many tourists and visitors to the Philippines are too scared to try it. Banana with literally everything. Somalia.
Apparently there was some sort of banana in the transmission.
Somalian cuisine is known for being unique, spicy, and pretty eclectic. The reason for this comes from Somalia's complex history and geographic position in the northeast of Africa. Over the centuries, Somalia has been influenced by Persia, the Arabian Peninsula, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Some famous distinctive dishes include basto, a spicy Somali pasta, barisis kukaris, a biryani-like rice and meat dish, or marak digag, a potato, chicken, and carrot stew, all of which taste incredible.
It's good.
But here's the fun part. It's customary to eat these dishes and most lunches and dinners in Somalia with sweet bananas. Many Somali restaurants will even bring the banana with your order without even asking if you want it. The banana is usually mashed into the morsel of food you are eating to offset the spiciness of the food. Don't add salt to your meal. Egypt.
Spilling the salt is very bad luck.
Pick up any postcard from Egypt and you're likely to see pictures of the pyramids of Giza, the Sphinx, or maybe the Nile River. After all, Egypt is primarily known for its ancient civilization, but modern Egypt is equally fascinating. One of the most underrated aspects of contemporary Egypt is the food. Like most Middle Eastern cuisine, it is often delicious and brimming with flavor. As a rule, Egyptians hate bland food. Some classic dishes include bamia, stewed okra, koshari, rice, pasta, and lentils, and fata, a lamb and rice dish.
Now you're talking.
Most of these foods always involve a generous amount of onions and garlic as the base, spices like cumin, cardamom, and a fair bit of salt and lemon. But if you happen to be someone who likes to add even more salt to your food, you may inadvertently insult your host or chef. In Egypt, this would imply that the person who has made you the food has not made it flavorful enough. So the next time that you pick up the salt shaker in a restaurant in Egypt, be careful. Pasta with strawberries. Poland.
I gotta be honest, I was not expecting that.
Imagine looking down at the blender while yogurt, sugar, and strawberries are slowly blended into a frothy and fruity concoction. But here's the catch. If you're Polish, this sweet sauce is not going over your cheesecake, ice cream, or pancakes. It's going over pasta. Yep, you heard that right. Polish people have an odd habit of putting strawberry sauce and whole strawberries on pasta. It's a dish called makaron z truskawkami, and you can make it with fettuccine, tagliatelle, and even spaghetti.
Joy, have some pasta.
It may sound like it came from the imagination of a 3-year-old who has just been given free rein in the kitchen, but makaron z truskawkami is an authentic dish in Poland made by adults. It is considered a comfort food, and it is beloved across most regions in Poland and beyond. Similar sweet pasta dishes exist in different parts of Europe, combined with chocolate, cinnamon, poppy seeds, and sugar. Popcorn with coffee. Ethiopia.
I'm gonna need a cup of coffee.
Around the world, most people would agree that coffee is well paired with a piece of chocolate, various cakes, and many other sweets. But Ethiopians have a unique custom of pairing their coffee with something completely unexpected: salty popcorn. Generally, Ethiopian coffee ceremonies are elaborate affairs that involve burning incense and include specific ways of preparing and serving the hot beverage.
I can't see that, sir, and that is why I joined up.
This is all done to maximize the pleasure of enjoying coffee. But at some point in the evolution of the history of coffee in Ethiopia, Ethiopians began serving coffee with popcorn placed in a large woven basket. This practice would seem strange in most other parts of the world. Eating with the right hand. Arab countries.
Your right hand only. Your right hand only.
Arabs historically have peculiar customs regarding eating and going to the bathroom. You need to eat and serve food exclusively with your right hand and wipe yourself in the bathroom with your left hand. In fact, according to tradition, using your left hand to eat would be considered dirty and unhygienic. The roots of this custom come from the Quran and Bedouin culture that tends to see the right side of the human body as the good side and the left-hand side of the human body as dirty.
That's gross. That's just gross.
In modern Arab culture, few people stick to these rules anymore, but they are still enacted during traditional ceremonies where food is served. In some countries, you're even meant to put your left hand behind your back while you eat and only have your right hand in front of you. It's easy enough if you are right-handed, but pretty tricky if you're a lefty. Never add cheese to fish. Italy.
You want some Parmesan cheese on that?
Adding a little Parmesan to your seafood pasta might seem like a natural and harmless personal choice. But if you ask for cheese to be added to your fish dish in Italy, it would be considered nothing less than disgusting. Italians are very particular about appropriate food combinations as well as meal times. Tourists who break any of these unspoken rules are said to be brutta figura, or making fools out of themselves.
Stop it!
Many Italian dishes are indeed meant to be eaten with Parmesan, like porcini linguini, prosciutto di Parma, and tortelli d'erbetta. But if your waiter in Italy does not bring cheese with your meal, don't ask for it. Don't tip your waiter. Japan.
You don't believe in tipping.
In many countries, especially the US and Canada, it is considered extremely rude not to tip your waiter or waitress, who often depend on tips more than their salaries for their livelihood. It seems like it should be a universal idea, right? Who wouldn't be happy with a generous tip? Well, not in Japan. In Japan, it is not customary to tip your waiter and may even be considered impolite on your part.
I'm sorry, that was rude.
Much of Japanese culture is founded on values like a strong work ethic, dignity, and respect for your vocation. So tipping is often considered unnecessary and strange. Leave a bit of food on a plate. China.
Would you like to go get some Chinese food?
Clean your plate is commonly said to children who are reluctant to finish off their dinner. One of the reasons kids hear this so often is to teach them not to waste food and to understand the value of it. But in Chinese culture, it's actually considered impolite to finish every bite of food on your plate.
Wait! Stop! Don't eat it all.
This implies that your host has not given you enough to eat and that you are still hungry and unsatisfied. So the next time you're at a Chinese person's house, make sure to leave a little bit of food on your plate after eating to show your host that the food was plentiful and satisfying. Oldest person starts eating first. Korea.
And you always eat first.
Your grandmother has just prepared a tasty meal and placed it on the table. You and the other grandkids immediately start to dig in before your grandmother even has a chance to sit at the table. Sounds normal? Not in Korea. In Korea, it is considered highly disrespectful to start eating before the oldest person at the table begins to eat.
You have to wait, Simon.
Traditionally, people at the dining table should be organized from the oldest to the youngest, and you should even try to match your eating speed to those around you. After you finish your meal, you should wait until the oldest person at the table gets up and leaves before you do. Slurp your soup. Japan.
Oh, excuse me. Japan.
You're sitting in a cramped Tokyo restaurant quietly eating your meal. The last thing you want is to be disturbed by the loud sounds of someone slurping their soup at the table next to you. But that's exactly what they're doing, slurping their soup loud and proud without any sense of shame. Many people in different parts of the world would find this behavior jarring and even repulsive.
Oh, disgusting.
But it is customary to slurp your soup loudly in Japan as a sign of appreciation. The belief is that by slurping the soup, you taste more of the flavors and enjoy the meal more. In Japan, this is considered a sign of respect for the person who has made the soup for you. Don't order cappuccino after a meal. Italy.
Please don't do it.
People in Italy are generally friendly and talkative, especially in the southern and central regions of the country. But Italians are also very strict and particular when it comes to food etiquette and timing in a way that can be baffling to outsiders. So if you ask a waiter at a cafe in Rome for a frothy cappuccino in the middle of the afternoon after you've finished your meal, you are likely to get a "No, I will not do that. That's disgusting."
Can't do that, it's wrong.
Italians consider cappuccino exclusively a breakfast drink, generally to be had in the morning and preferably before you've had anything to eat. The idea is that milk is much easier to digest on an empty stomach and could cause your stomach to be upset when you've already had several meals in your belly. Eating steak raw. France.
Give it to us raw.
The first step if you were about to prepare a dish using ground beef, most people probably season it with salt, pepper, and various spices, and then the next step would almost certainly be cooking the meat on the stove or in the oven, right? Well, not if you're preparing steak tartare. Steak tartare is a French beef dish literally served raw. Yes, raw. Not medium rare or rare, but completely uncooked.
Whoa. Is that safe?
It is believed that the dish originated in 19th century France when the French developed a strange habit of eating their meat raw. Some believed it started as a time-saving idea until it evolved into a well-known delicacy eaten by people all over the European continent. Today, different versions of steak tartare can be found in Belgium, the Czech Republic, Sweden, and Finland. The most famous version of the dish is mixed with spices and even covered with a raw egg on top. Cheese with insect larvae. Italy.
You're trying to attract every insect in Cuesta Verde, huh?
A large block of rotten sheep's cheese is left out in the sun until it eventually becomes filled with translucent, squirming worms that eat away at the cheese until it becomes utterly unrecognizable. Soon after, a small family sits around the dinner table and devours the infested cheese with bread and raves about it. Sounds like something out of a horror movie. It may have got its start by accident many centuries ago, but kasumarzu is a well-known Sardinian dish that millions of Italians adore.
I can't help feeling that these Italians know more about having fun than we do.
The weirdest part is that Sardinians have a habit of eating the cheese while the larvae are still alive and moving. This can cause a problem because the larvae have a habit of jumping when provoked. Sardinians generally put their hand in front of their face while eating the cheese to stop the larvae from flying into their face. The dish is generally considered safe to eat, but there is some evidence that proves that the larvae can potentially remain alive in your stomach, causing various intestinal problems. Order up more great videos. Just tap or click and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join our notification squad.